What's up, guys? Welcome back to Wristre Wednesdays. My name is Brandon and I'm the host. And tonight what I wanted to talk about with you guys was kind of the evolution of Rolex MSRP prices. So flashback 70 odd years into the 1950s, you could have got a Rolex Submariner for about $150. Another $90 on top of that, you found yourself with a GMT Master, and not too much more than the GMT Master, about $10 or $15 more, you could have got yourself a Datejust. So how do we go from there with Rolex to where we are today with the brand? And it really all started in the 1970s when Rolex, as well as other watchmakers, they really kind of just created timepieces as a functionality tool to keep time, right? But also in the 1970s, we were introduced to quartz watches. And the issue with quartz watches, and not really the issue with quartz watches, but where other watchmakers found an issue with quartz watches, are they were incredibly cheap to make, as well as they kept time in very, very accurately. So what we found was at the end of the 70s, 2/3 of all watchmakers were put out of business. Obviously, Rolex being Rolex, and thankfully, right, they fared better than most watchmakers, and they try to get their feet wet a little bit with the quartz technology, and you saw that they put out a battery-powered Rolex Datejust as well as the Day-Date. But at the end of the day, they decided to go a completely different path and more so stick to their original roots, and they doubled down on innovation, as well as they started to create that exclusivity factor of the Rolex brand that we know today. So after the 70s, you saw Rolex constantly innovating the timepieces that they were creating. They were changing the materials that they were making the watches out of, the technology that were powering the timepieces, and they just kept evolving and evolving and evolving. A lot of money obviously went into that to constantly put out a new product and a better product, and you could see that reflect in the MSRP prices of those timepieces versus from the 1950s. So that kind of explains the increase in price from the 1950s as we got closer to the 2000s. And it wasn't just inflation that brought the prices up. It was Rolex starting to put out a better product, and they were constantly innovating their product, and it has made the Rolex brand what it is today. So with that being said, I kind of wanted to talk about how crazy the secondary market has been. And it all comes back to when Rolex made that fundamental change and they started becoming that exclusive timepiece brand, why the secondary market for Rolex timepieces is the way it is right now at this moment. And it's because Rolex has created this persona that they are an exclusive brand. So with that being said, they only allow so many new watches to go out each year to their contacts, as well as like their authorized dealers, that they're allowed to sell those watches. So what you're finding is a supply and demand thing, really. And these timepieces, some of them, depending on the model, they have extensive waiting lists, and I'm talking several years. The most I've heard was like up to 10 at some places, which is absolutely crazy. And that's simply because Rolex isn't allowing enough timepieces that people want to go out and purchase them, obviously, because how would Rolex still be an exclusive brand if anyone could walk off the street and go buy a new Rolex straight from the dealer, right? I mean, granted, I've definitely heard stories of that happening. Lucky guys, for sure. But with that being said, it's not really the case that you typically see. So there are three models of Rolexes that I wanted to talk about on the secondary market to kind of paint the picture of how crazy the secondary market is. And that's going to be the Rolex Daytona, as well as the Pepsi GMT Master 2, and the Hulk Submariner. So I went on the Rolex website earlier today just to get the complete accurate MSRP price for these, and all three of these models do have extensive waiting list periods to actually go to the authorized dealer and purchase that watch new. So to start off, the Daytona is going to be about $12,400. That's what it's listed for on the Rolex site, and if you were to pay for it retail, obviously not including taxes. On the secondary market, this watch is trading almost double at $23,000 to $24,000. The Pepsi GMT Master 2 is pretty much similar in that regard as well. The MSRP price for that is $9,250, and it's trading for about $18,000 to $19,000 on the secondary market. So that's, again, double the price of what it's trading at versus what they're listed for retail or from Rolex for the MSRP, right? So the Hulk Submariner, lastly, is at the MSRP price on the website for Rolex is $9,050, and those are trading hands at about almost $15,000 to $16,000. So again, almost double. So why is this? It comes into what we just said. It's Rolex has such a very loyal clientele and such a huge clientele, and they only allow such a small amount of watches to go out that they sell each year new. So you have people either waiting years to buy this timepiece and get the call, and man, they want that call, or they're willing to go out and in some cases, like we just discussed, pay double what it's actually worth from Rolex itself. So I mean, justified, I don't know. It's really up to you as the individual. Personally, I really think it's cool that Rolex was able to create that type of product where they have people either waiting years to buy it, or they're actually willing to go out and pay such immense prices versus what it's actually selling for MSRP wise. So hats off to Rolex. We all love them. Can't knock them. But if you want to justify those prices, that's completely up to you as the individual. So this has always been a topic that I've been interested in. I love seeing the new watches that Rolex puts out, as well as kind of just seeing how crazy the prices they have been getting. I wanted to share this with you guys tonight. I hope that you found it interesting. I really do. If you have any questions or you want us to cover anything in specific, always feel free to just shoot us an email at hello@wristre.com. We'd be more than happy to go over it. As well as make sure you sign up for the Coalition newsletter. That goes out on Sundays. That's our go-to thing. We have everything in there, and we're also announcing something really cool this Sunday in the Coalition newsletter where you're going to be able to get timepieces and save thousands of dollars on them. So without further ado, guys, I will see you on Sunday, and I will see you next week right here for Wristre Wednesdays. And I hope that everyone has a great night, and thanks for tuning in as always.